Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just got back from seeing Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now, the original Wreck-It Ralph was sort of like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit of video games, combining several copyrighted characters that we remember from our youth, and putting them in this one big video game movie that Disney made that ended up not only being big on references, but big on heart and charm. Now, the sequel, made 6 years later, is sort of like that, only for the internet this time, which is much bigger, which is much more vast, and has bigger opportunities for jokes. And does this movie manage to take the advantage of that opportunity? Well, I'd say it not only breaks the internet, it'll be shared on the internet forever. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story picks up, ironically, 6 years after the events of the first Wreck-It Ralph, where Ralph and Vanellope are still friends, but after Ralph ends up screwing up one of the Vanellope's game, she has to get a new steering wheel for the game, or else it'll be unplugged and they'll never be able to see each other again. So Vanellope and Ralph end up going to the internet once the internet is plugged in at their arcade, and they have to find a new steering wheel at eBay in order to save their game. Yes, that is literally the plot. And after that, a whole bunch of stuff happens that I don't want to spoil, and it would probably make the plot seem rather convoluted. But the biggest aspect that I liked about the movie is the fact that, despite the fact that there are so many plot elements and so many characters introduced, it never feels convoluted, and it never loses sight of its main goal and the main thing that makes these characters so likable. It keeps throwing a ton of stuff at you, from references to online and video game culture, several new characters that we can appreciate, such as Shank, played by Gal Gadot. Yes, you can make all the Wonder Woman jokes you can about her. I'm sure they'll all be hilarious. There's a YouTube algorithm named Yes, played by Tiffany Haddish. Yes, she's actually incredibly funny in this. And a ton of other characters that throughout that fit in right in with the rest of the old characters, of the characters of old. Now, one of the problems with the movie is that some characters and some things from the first one that I liked end up being pushed to the background for almost the entire film. Like, remember Fix-It Felix and Sergeant Calhoun? Both of them are pretty much only there for cameos at the very beginning and at the very end. Outside of that, they have nothing to do with the movie. But, to be fair, there are so many other things going on that if they were also included, it would feel overstuffed. So I guess it was best to just have them for jokes. Speaking of jokes, this movie has them at about a mile a minute, where there are obvious jokes in the foreground, jokes that are mainly for kids, jokes that only adults would get. They run across the board, as most Disney films often go, and the majority of them are very funny. But often the funniest material is when Disney is making fun of itself. As you've seen in the trailers, there's a certain point where Vanellope goes to a Disney-themed website, and that's the section of the film where they make fun of all the properties they have, the Disney princesses, Marvel, Star Wars, any joke that you can think of that has Disney attached to it, they make that joke and it's funny. But despite all the constant humor, bright colors, and all the fun satire of internet culture, it still manages to keep the heart and soul of Wreck-It Ralph alive, and it manages to deliver a positive message along the way, which only really good films can balance humor and heart that well, but this is Disney we're talking about. They are practically masters at this sort of thing. But my only problem with the film, other than the fact that some characters like Fix-It Felix and Calhoun get sort of shafted for the sake of this new plot, my only other problem other than that is that it sometimes feels like there's one too many things going on. I mean, I could follow the film okay, but I can see some other audience members feeling a little confused, considering sometimes it feels like there are 3 or 4 things going on at the same time in the actual plot, and you can get a little confused trying to follow it. But aside from that, it's a fun and often very intelligent look at the internet culture, while also being just a fun animated film in general. And speaking of which, you should stay for the credits, because there's not 1 but 2 credit scenes, one in the mid-credits and one at the end. And the one at the end should be able to resurrect one of the oldest internet memes that I can possibly think of. So, Ralph Breaks the Internet gets a 9 out of 10. If they ever make a third Wreck-It Ralph, I'm sure it'll be amazing. See you next time.